Make GitHub your user acquisition channel. When you think of GitHub, you think of code, but you can use it to get customers for your dev tool. And we will see how. I will deconstruct the case of Oxylabs, the second most important web scraping API in the world. We will cover the impact that Oxylabs is having with GitHub SEO, how they do SEO, the developer experience they create in these repositories, how they capture value, and how they measure that they get user signups and revenue. So let's get started. The first question is why Oxylabs is doing this. I will give you an example. Imagine that you are looking for an Amazon scraping API to extract data from the web. They build repositories like this one, for example, and they work. I can guarantee that. It has impact on visibility and trust. For example, when people search inside GitHub, they appear. If you search on GitHub for Amazon Scraper, they rank #1. Also, they rank on Google. So let's say you search for this on Google, and in the third position, you will see Oxylabs. Great, but not only that, because on LLMs, they also rank. Imagine that you're looking for an Amazon Scraper API on Perplexity, for example, and surprise, in the sources, we have the repository, and surprise, Oxylabs is mentioned. So it works. And also, they get a lot of stars. Here you can see one of the repos, and they increase over time. They got almost 2K stars. Pretty nice, and this is just only one of all of them. They have about 70. Sounds good? Then let's go to see how they manufacture this from the SEO perspective, point by point. When it comes to SEO optimization, let's see the different factors and how they do it. So when it comes to keyword research, they did it. This is what people look for: Amazon Scraper, Amazon Scraper API, Amazon Review Scraper, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but that's what they did. Then, when they identify the keyword, they use that in the repository name, in this case, Amazon Scraper. And you may wonder, but why is not Amazon Scraper API? Well, because this is more inclusive, but inside, in several places, they mention Amazon Scraper API, and so on. It's a play. Also, they mention the keyword in the about. You can see it, Amazon Scraper API. Also, they use tags, a lot of related tags like e-commerce API, Amazon API, Scrape Amazon, and so on. These are topics, these tags. And this is important because, surprise, the topics also rank on Google. People will find Oxylabs regardless of the source. Here on this page, you can see, for example, which tags they use across different scraper repositories. So you can find the patterns. It's pretty clear. Okay, that's the basics. Now let's go to the content. So for the headings, they actually use it. Great. Let's see here. You can see that they use the keyword in different places, the repository title, subheadings, in different variations, and so on. They also use the keyword across the whole text, not only one specific place. They also use secondary keywords because, as I mentioned, Amazon Scraper, Amazon Scraper API, and so on and so forth. They also do frequent updates. You can see it here. So updated a couple of weeks ago, and they have multiple pages. Let's go to the 5th page, and it's updated recently. That's good. When it comes to the depth of the cluster, let's do a little search. Let's go to the org repositories, and then let's search for Scraper, for example. Okay, so you can see they have a lot of them. and not all of these is the same. They have also SDKs and so. For Amazon in particular, you will see that they have multiple. The generic one, they have one only for reviews, and several more. Good keyword research here. Yeah, another thing that they do is that if you check multiple of the repos, you will see that they have structures a little bit different. They have content a little bit different. They are doing this programmatic SEO 101 to make sure they are not flagged as duplicated content. They also do cross-site linking. Basically, they have resources in different websites and they link to each other to make them more popular. There is small text here, I won't go over it, about good and bad cases. But you can see, for example, that from the website, they have a link to the repo and vice versa. So from repo, they have a link to a page. Okay. And now let's talk about a few issues that they have. I think they are not using consistently the primary keywords. For example, here, the main keyword is clearly Google News Scraper, but there is no mention of scraper anywhere in the about. And that happens for multiple repos. Also, they are missing opportunities. They could expand this a lot more, mostly for massive sites. For example, they could create a repo for Amazon Scraper C#. One last thing would be the anchor text, the text that has a link. If we check one of the main ones and we check this plugin, we will see they have links to different pages, but the text is here, more info, here, more info. That's pretty bad for the experience, and also they are missing on semantics. The links from GitHub have no follow, which means you don't get SEO value. In theory, the reality is that it's questionable. That's it when it comes to SEO. Now let's jump into the developer experience. Let's analyze the repos themselves. First of all, you can, and then you have two options. You have a free Amazon Scraper, open source, and an API that you need to pay for. The good thing is that you have open source value, and that's super valuable for developers. Good point, Oxylabs. They have a table of contents. It's easy to see what is what. Maybe it could be too big, but depends on how you consider it, because if there are multiple endpoints, you can go to what you want, like reviews or bestsellers. They have a quick start, both for the free and, in many repos, they're paid. So step by step, do this, do that, and then you get the value that is even visual in CSV. Perfect. They also are labeling what is paid, and that's good for the developer experience. They also have recipes. So if you go for code examples, you want to scrape a product, this is the recipe. You want to scrape reviews, this is the recipe. They have more documentation, even the mandatory parameters and the optional ones, like geolocation. But you can see some places that there are links to official docs. And in some for live chat. Not loading now, but maybe downtime. When it comes to things that they could do better, there are a lot of broken links, honestly. They have the repos updated, but there are a bunch of broken links to Medium articles, to the docs, like this one on Google News Search. It's not helpful. Another one is messy interlinking UX. What do I mean? They link to other scrapers you might be interested about, either related or sub. But judge on your own. They could put a list. Also, when you just come here, it's not that straightforward. Besides this and that, what is the open source and what is the paid? You need to go to code examples, and there you have it. If you study their competitors, for example, this one for Google Maps Scraper, the sections are much clearer to distinguish because they use emojis. It's pretty clear. which section is what, even without table of contents. They have a playground. The thing is, Oxylabs also has a playground after you sign up, but they are not talking about that. They are not showing any screenshot or anything. So they are not even promoting and showing the value that they deliver. They should. That's it when it comes to developer experience, and let's jump now to capturing value. In other words, getting signups and customers. A little bit different from repo to repo, but you can see there is a free trial. At some point, they will mention there is a free trial, claim it here. And there you go, and get it. There is also a visual call to action. At the beginning, there is this banner telling you we are this brand, and you can get this free trial. Also, a bit of social proof in which they say, people talk about us and about our stuff. And they give arguments of why you should go for the paid Oxylabs instead of free Selenium. That's here. Collect public data without blocks. Nice. By the way, I didn't mention before, they should have put the logo or mentioned at least the stack that they use. For open source, they use Selenium, but what is mentioned? Nowhere. And you can see it is use Selenium. Also interesting, I didn't write it down. They, in this YouTube scraper, don't have open source. They only have recipes for the API and different programming languages. That is risky. At the same time, I understand why it's done. But, for example, they have C#, but what is C# in languages here? But they could mention some icon here. And now, let's go for the things that could be improved when it comes to value capture. The selling from the repos is not good. It is one of the main overall points. For different reasons, in different places, they don't do it well. For example, this is bullshit. Do you expect to convince me to use your scraper with this? In this other case, for example, they tell you, hey, we have this, and you get a free trial. Nice. But why? Why should I use this? You give me what? You give me structured data, or you prevent me from getting blocked, or you get all the data that other scrapers cannot. Be explicit about the value you provide. They really need to review this 100%. Another thing is that they have this banner, this visual that I mentioned before, but it's on the top and it looks like spam. I have tested this in the past. It doesn't perform well. In this case, at least they have a discount. In other cases, it's about the link. This is lack of attention to detail. You can see in this repo, they have a link to a landing page. But for example, in this other one, what is the link? Guys, what is the link? And then other things that they could do, for example, if you check the contributors, they're internal people. They could get somebody with an important account on GitHub to appear as a contributor, because they will get Oxylabs a lot more exposure. How? When they appear as contributors, this appears in the profile of this contributor, and people sometimes are curious about what their influencers do. And even more important, it appears in the feed of the followers of this guy. Then there is this mention, for example, here. Check out our list of best web scraping tools. I understand the logic of why we're doing this. It's an article that belongs to you and you want to boost it. But what the heck? This is not social proof. You could hide it. And this is way more important to convert into users and customers than this. The hierarchy here could be better. Then you completely lack social proof, guys. If you go to Oxylabs website, you have social proof before you have stars. You have companies that use you, and you have awards, you have a lot of stuff. But what is the social proof on this repo. Compare, for example, with this competitor. This guy has badges for stars, the views, although this can be risky and misleading, and they have also sponsor, that in your case is more difficult. This other competitor, they have a badge to link to Discord. And guess what? If you go to Oxylabs, you will see that they link to Discord, so it's important for them and makes sense. But they're completely ignoring that here. But why? I know it's been a lot. There is one last thing, which is attribution. How do they know this gives them users? The attribution works like this. The basic one, the eyeballs that you are getting, you can do that as a organization admin. You can check those stats, or you can plug in some tools to visualize that in nicer dashboards. Also, the stars that you are getting, almost 2K over time. You can also see the spikes, and this can help you to analyze what they are doing. Because if there are some spikes, they are doing something, and this is a good indicator to reverse engineer. The most important one, but depends org by org, is the business value, signups, customers, and revenue. Important thing here, this is a disaster. If you check the UTMs, the UTM is a parameter that you append to the link in order to track the traffic you get, because a lot of the traffic you won't be able to attribute it, so it's dark data. Here, they don't have a UTM. This one here, copy link. This campaign is repo. You could specify GitHub repo at least, but okay. And then the source is Git internal. It's a mess. This needs to be revisited. That's it. I hope that you have liked it and inspires you. And if you need any help with programmatic SEO, GitHub SEO, or GitHub marketing, let me know. I will be happy to give you some pieces of advice.